Bhagavate Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Thank you very much for joining today. I wanted to seek the blessings of Radha Shyam Sundar, Radha Madhav, Radha Krishna Balaram, Bal Gopal, Nitai Shila Prabhupada, Guru Maharaj, and the assembled devotees. So we are on chapter 15, the Yoga of the Supreme Person, Purushottam Yoga. It's a summary of this chapter. The ultimate purpose of Vedic knowledge is to detach ourselves from the entanglement of this material world and to understand Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One who understands Krishna's supreme identity surrenders unto him and he engages in his devotional service. So this is what Bhagavad Gita does. It gives us this understanding of Krishna's position. And Krishna uses a wonderful analogy to create detachment within the spiritualist and fuel his desire to re-enter our real home in the spiritual world. So this chapter, Krishna gives us a very nice example, which shows us that we don't belong to this world, we belong in his world. So this is an example that we've given as well. Imagine somebody checks into their holiday hotel room and begins painting the walls, buying new furniture, refitting the bathroom, hanging up pictures. So if you go into a hotel room for one night and suddenly, you are hanging up pictures, buying furniture, sounds ludicrous, because we don't make such arrangements, long-term arrangements, or we don't make arrangements for long-term comfort in a temporary residence. You're only there for one night or two nights. So this world is like that. It's like a hotel room within which people make very complicated plans for security and enjoyment. We're only going to be in this life for a short period of time, but we're thinking we're going to live here forever. But there's something called death, which is a final end to our life in this body. And then we get another body. But we have to try to understand that these are all temporary situations, and we have to try to look for that permanent solution, which is what we are, which is what Krishna is giving us, actually. The themes of this chapter: this material world is a perverted reflection of the spiritual world. Krishna gives a glimpse into the spiritual world. So in this chapter, Krishna gives us an idea of what his world is like. And he also shows us how he maintains us at every level. And then he also explains the different living entities. So let's have a look at, let's start with, maybe Lokeshwar, would you like to start reading?
Text 1. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, "It is said that there is an imperishable bending tree that has its root upward and its branches down, and whose leaves are the Vedic hymns. One who knows this tree is the knower of the Vedas." Text 2. The branches of this tree extend downward and upward, nourished by the three modes of material nature. The twigs are the objects of the senses. This tree has also roots going down, and these are bound to the fruitive actions of human society. Text 3 to 4. The real form of this tree cannot be perceived in this world. No one can understand where it ends, where it begins, or where its foundation is. But with determination, one must cut down this strongly rooted tree with the weapon of detachment. Thereafter, one must seek that place from which, having gone, one never returns, and then surrender to that Supreme Personality of Godhead, from whom everything began and from whom everything has extended since time immemorial. Text 5. Those who are free from false prestige, illusion, and false association, who understand the eternal, who are done with material lust, who are freed from the dualities of happiness and distress, and who are unbewildered, know how to surrender unto the Supreme Person, attain to that eternal kingdom.
Wonderful. So, the summary of these 5 verses is as follows. Krishna gives an example. A banyan tree has a reflection in water. So the spiritual world also has its reflection. This is the material world. So we are living in a reflection of the spiritual world. Just like where there's a banyan tree and there's some water, you see the reflection of the banyan tree in the water. While they may look similar from a distance, the spiritual world is where reality, substance, and true satisfaction is found. So in the shadow of the banyan tree, that's not the real tree, although it looks real. So similarly, this material world looks real, but it's just temporary. On the other hand, the reflected tree of the material world is complicated, intricate, and completely topsy-turvy, since the roots are upwards and the branches downwards. Bird-like individuals frantically search for juicy fruits on the reflected tree, but the substance which brings satisfaction seems to be lacking. So we're looking for enjoyment in this world, but there is very difficult to find lasting happiness in this world because of its temporary nature. So we're looking for this juicy fruit on this reflected tree, but there's no substance. So Krishna urges the reader to cut down this illusory tree with the weapon of detachment and end the futile endeavors for permanent fulfillment in temporary fantasy world. So the lesson in this chapter, this part of the chapter is, consider this place as a hotel, not a home, because we're staying here temporarily. And this is a really interesting. So this is the spiritual world, and this is the reflection of the spiritual world where we're living. It's called the material world. The spiritual world is eternal. And that's the real tree. This is the banyan tree, the reflection of the banyan tree. And here we can see the roots are upwards and the branches are downwards. Just the opposite of the spiritual world. And in this tree, we are actually trying to improve our material situation. But no matter how hard we try, how hard we go up the tree, we'll never succeed because of something called death. Because of death, we will never succeed in this world. Just because everything we will achieve in our life will be finished at the time of death. Whereas in the spiritual world, there's no such thing as death. We continue to improve and get better and better serving the Lord. It's just the most extraordinary situation that we are in. So with pious acts, we try to go up the ladder, go into the heavens, but ultimately we still come back. So the idea is to, with the sword of knowledge, to cut this tree of this temporary world and achieve the permanent. That's the idea. That's the point of Bhagavad Gita. That's what it's teaching us. So there's different things here. There's the reflecting medium, which is nourished by the 3 modes of material nature. And there's loads of roots which are binding us. And the roots are deep. As we perform karma, the roots in our material world become deeper and deeper. We get more and more entangled because of our karma. So there's loads of examples here. Anyway, let's move to text 6 onwards. So, Lokeshwar, why don't you carry on?
Okay. Text 6. That supreme abode of mind is not illumined by the sun or moon, nor by fire or electricity. Those who reach it never return to this material world. Text 7. The living entities in this conditioned world are my eternal fragmental parts. Due to conditioned life, they are struggling very hard with the six senses, which include the mind. Text 8. The living entity in the material world carries his different conception of life from one body to another, as the air carries aromas. Thus he takes one kind of body and again quits it to take another. The living entity, thus taking another gross body, obtains a certain type of air, eye, tongue, nose, and sense of touch, which are grouped above the mind. He thus enjoys a particular set of sense objects. Text 10. The foolish cannot understand how a living entity can quit his body, nor can they understand what sort of body he enjoys under the spell of the modes of nature. But one whose eyes are trained in knowledge can see all this.
There's one more verse here.
Text 11. The endeavoring transcendentalists who are situated in self-realization can see all this clear. But those whose minds are not developed and who are not situated in self-realization cannot see what is taking place as though they may try.
Fantastic. So Krishna here gives a glimpse of the spiritual world, showing how its nature is perfect, complete, and fully satisfying to the Lord. So first Krishna gives an idea of this world, how it's like the reflection of the banyan tree. Now Krishna gives an idea of what the spiritual world is like. Once having gone there to the spiritual world, one never returns to this world. Here in the material realm, an individual hops from tree to tree. So sometimes we have a human body. Depending on our karma, we might get an animal body in our next life. Or we might get a body in the heavens as a demigod. We're running from one place to another. So acquiring various material bodies based on worldly desires that are cultivated throughout our life. At the time of death, through the subtle workings of reincarnation, we receive a body which is tailor-made to facilitate our desires. So if we have a desire to sleep, we just want to sleep. We can't wake up in the morning. Afternoon, we have a long nap. At night, we go to sleep early and can't get up in the morning. We just like to sleep. So our nature is that like of a bear. Our desire is that of a bear. We just want to sleep. So the material nature will be arranged so that we will get the body which will suit us in our next life. And that will be perhaps a body of a bear, because that's how we are behaving. Man proposes, God disposes. Thus, different life situations are meant to teach us a simple lesson. We're looking for the right thing, happiness. Everybody wants happiness. There's nobody who wants unhappiness. But we're looking for it in the wrong place. We're looking for happiness in this material world, which is completely temporary. Everything changes very quickly. So what is a lesson to learn is that the spiritual world is actually our real home. That's where we really belong. And Krishna is giving us a glimpse of that spiritual world. He's giving us very nice instructions of how to reach the spiritual world. So this is really amazing, amazing. Krishna is so kind. And now he gives us some idea of how he maintains us at every level. So, Lokeshwar, carry on.
Okay, Prabhuji. Text 12. The splendor of the sun which dissipates the darkness of this whole world comes from me, and the splendor of the moon and the splendor of fire are also from me. Text 13. As I enter into each planet, and by my energy they stay in orbit, I become the moon and thereby supply the juice of life to all vegetables. Text 14. I am the fire of digestion in the bodies of all living entities, and I join with the air of life, outgoing and incoming, to digest the 4 kinds of foodstuff. Text 15. I am seated in everyone's heart, and from me come remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. By all the Vedas, I am to be known. Indeed, I am the compiler of Vedanta, and I am the knower of the Vedas.
Excellent, excellent. So here, look at this. He's maintaining us. I am the fire of digestion. If we didn't have this fire of digestion within our bodies, whatever we eat would never get digested. It would never get turned into energy. So this is a very basic function. And Krishna is saying, I am the fire of digestion in you. He's maintaining us. He's giving us the air of life, outgoing, incoming. He is supplying the sun, the light. He's supplying the splendor of the moon. The moon gives juice to the juice of life to the vegetables, and we eat those vegetables. We get the juice, we get the life from that. And he's also seated within us. So at every level, he's supporting us. So the summary is, one who is entangled within this reflected tree of material existence can develop his Krishna consciousness by appreciating Krishna as the maintainer on all levels. Krishna maintains our gross body, physical body, by arranging fundamental resources that provide the energy of life. He also maintains our subtle capacities by facilitating knowledge, remembrance, and forgetfulness. And finally, perhaps most importantly, Krishna maintains our spirituality by offering ways and means to achieve self-realization and escape the dangerous cycle of repeated birth and death. So he maintains us on every level, the gross body, the mental condition that we're in, and the spiritual condition. Krishna is always our maintainer. We have to understand that. And our false ego will think otherwise, that we are doing this and we are doing that. But actually, it's the Lord's mercy who's allowing us to do so much. Right. Last bit. Again, Lokeshwar, go for it.
Text 16. There are 2 classes of beings, the fallible and the infallible. In the material world, every living entity is fallible, and in the spiritual world, every living entity is called infallible. Text 17. Besides these 2, there is the greatest living personality, the Supreme Soul, the imperishable Lord Himself, who has entered the 3 worlds and is maintaining them. Text 18. Because I am transcendental beyond both the fallible and the infallible, and because I am the greatest, I am celebrated both in the world and in Vedas as that Supreme Person. Text 19. Whoever knows me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead without doubting is the knower of everything. He therefore engages himself in full devotional service to me, O son of Bharata. Text 20. This is the most confidential part of the Vedic scriptures, O sinless one, and it is disclosed now by me. Whoever understands this will become wise, and his endeavors will know perfection.
Very good, very good. So now, this chapter is so incredible. Krishna is now describing the 2 types of living entities. Those who are in the spiritual world, who cannot be shaken from their service to the Lord, and us in this material world. And then he also describes beyond the 2, there's another person within our bodies, and that is Paramatma. And he is regarded to be the greatest, Purushottam. So, previously Krishna summarized the Bhagavad Gita in 4 verses in the 10th chapter, which is what we did this afternoon, Lokeshwar. And now he again summarizes the teachings in 3 verses. So he says, fallible living entities, Shara, have dropped into the tree of material existence due to an independent desire to enjoy. So this is why we're here. We wanted independence from God, and we became envious of God. So he created this material world for us. And in this material world, because of its situation, we can never fully be independent, because we are completely dependent on Krishna. He's showing us already. We're completely dependent on Krishna. So these are different from infallible living entities, Akasha, Akshara, who never leave the spiritual realm due to their undeviated desire to be with the Lord. So they're always serving the Lord. And that's the vast majority of creation. We are a very small minority living in this material world. The vast majority of living entities live in the spiritual kingdom. Beyond both entities, however, is the Supreme Lord. Thus, in yet another passage, Krishna reinforces that the living entity never becomes God. We can never become God. Although there are some philosophies that say we can become God, actually the position is we are servant of God. Since even liberated souls have their separate identity in the spiritual world. So Krishna is identifying those infallible living entities separate from himself. Knowing Krishna to be the Supreme Personality of God, one engages in bhakti. This is the most important thing, bhakti. It's a lesson. We can never become God. We're always his servant. But the position of the servant, it's not like in this material world where the servant is regarded a low-class citizen. In the spiritual world, the servant is often greater than the Supreme Lord. Why? How is that possible? Because the servant's mood towards the Lord is, I want to serve you, my Lord. But Krishna doesn't like to just take service. He likes to also serve his devotee. But the devotee will say, no, I simply want to serve you. I don't want any service from you, my Lord. I just want to serve you with all my heart. But Krishna will insist, I want to serve you. And this devotee will say, no, I'm serving you. So there's this competition going on between the devotee and Krishna. And Krishna can't win because the devotee is very steady, strong in his determination that I will serve you. I don't want anything from you, my dear Lord. You are my Lord. I will do everything for you. So this makes the Lord obliged to the devotee. He'll do anything the devotee wants. And that's why the position of servant is sometimes greater than that of the Lord. Because the Lord, he surrenders to his servant. I'll do anything you want, he will say. And this devotee will say, no, I don't need anything. So this competition is there. And that's why the Lord is considered to be the greatest, the Purushottam. Purush means person, or male, enjoyer, and Uttam, highest. So he's the highest personality. So I wanted to stop there. Any questions? Anybody like to ask any questions? Madhuben, Lokeshwar, Sitaram, Harish. Anybody, any questions? This is such an amazing chapter. Purushottam Yoga. Such a beautiful chapter. The yoga of the Supreme Person. Okay, we can stop there.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Oh, yes, Sitaram.
Yes, we agree we are devotees, but what should we do so that we can come closer to the Lord and go back home?
And you tell me the answer because you are expert devotee.
No, Prabhuji, no.
Yes,
I personally I do not want to go Swarga. I do not want to go. I want to only to go to Goloka Vrindavan, where one goes, never returns.
Hmm.
This is my idea, and I have such determination, so that I can practice my devotional life so nicely.
That's absolutely the attitude, which that determination is very
Yeah.
much needed. I love your determination.
Thank you, Prabhu.
See, your mood is just right because you just want to serve. You don't want anything for yourself. You just want to serve the Lord, and that's what actually conquers the Lord.
Yes. And yesterday I gone to my brother's place.
Right.
I was been invited with my family, all this.
Okay.
So I was there and just see them. They are not devotees, Prabhuji, but they're a bit favorable, but on the whole, they are not so devotee. And just as soon as they saw me, they say, I'm devotee. Yes, I'm devotee. It's like this. What to be done? Okay, Haribol Prabhu.
And how was the Gita Jayanti? Was it good?
It was first Prabhuji. All the verses we had sung with my colleagues, all there. It's very nice. Gita Jayanti. And you know, on the eve, I had already chanted the whole Bhagavad Gita in its translation.
Yes.
It's because I am free, you know.
Yeah, but you're
Like
free, but you're using your time. It's
in the
easy
service
to
of
be
Lord.
free in this time.
That's true.
I
We cannot,
really
you know,
like
Prabhuji,
you're a good example.
yeah, we cannot remain dull, you know. Sometimes I go to bed, but no, I'm not, the sleep is not flying. So I better consider to read Bhagavatam.
Right,
And you
right.
know, you have read just as a introduction of Srimad Bhagavatam, the first canto.
Yes,
It's so amazing, Prabhu.
yes, yes, yes. You about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, no?
Yeah, is it Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? All these things and this says why Srimad Bhagavatam had been he appeared. It appeared. Why? Because in the beginning there were no people, one or two or three. It was like this, and then the Lord, for our sake, he spoke the Srimad Bhagavatam. It's
Yeah.
very lovely, Prabhu. I read it twice. Okay. Okay, Haribol.
Very good. Thank you. Thanks for sharing that. Huh? Thank you very much.
Okay, Prabhu, Haribol.
Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai, chapter
Yeah.
15.